Good morning, everyone, and it's Monday and it rolled around real fast, but wasn't it amazing weather over the weekend? It's Cooke here, and I'm a leading business advisor and founder of The Engine and an expert in business entrepreneurship and coaching. And today, joining me on the show, I've got Tony Liu, Director of PC Online, and we're going to be talking about making IT work for you. Tony is one of my members in my networking group, and so we've actually known each other for a couple of years. But I love to bring people like Tony on the show to get to know not just what they do, but who they are. Tony, welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. It's my pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. And I love your backdrop there. Absolutely incredible tidiness there, Tony. It's awesome. Now, before we were coming on the show, we were just talking about you and your family and your journey to New Zealand. And a lot of people may not know, but I have a strong affinity to China. You see, my dad, he was born in Singapore, and then he moved to Shanghai, and he was actually a policeman in he was an engineer in Shanghai for 10 years, and then a policeman in Hong Kong for 10 years. And then I actually ended up traveling to China for about 6 years, 6 years and 6 times over the years. I'd be up and back and forth to China. And we're just talking about you and where you're from and how you and your wife met. And what an amazing love story. Do you want to tell the viewers about how you came to New Zealand and what New Zealand served up for you?
Well, I came here to study in 1996, right? When I finished my study, I managed to get a job and stay in New Zealand. And I actually met my wife 2005, actually. So, and she's from Dalian, that is north of China, and I'm from Guangdong, which is south. If we both stay in China, it's probably we won't have an opportunity to meet.
Absolutely, because it's actually a rarity to actually leave your hometown. So to get a passport and to be able to leave your country. What an amazing story, Tony. And you're not just a husband, you're also a father. So we were just talking about how your weekend was spent actually hanging out with your kids, right?
Yes.
And it must be hard trying to balance working from home and obviously looking after the children and having that quality time. How are you managing that right now?
Well, it's difficult. Like most of the mornings, I try to help my little girl to go online, do her online learnings before I start the job. But sometimes it's difficult, so I have to have my wife to help out sometimes. And luckily, my 2 older children, they are very well with technology. So sometimes they can also jump in and help their little sister to get online.
And Tony, look, my affinity with working with the Chinese people is you're very hardworking. You're very hardworking and you're extremely loyal. And what I really like about you, Tony, is there's no problem too big or small that you can't help people with. But IT, if you don't get on top of it, it can actually destroy all your hard work. So if we just kick off with the first things first, quite often as a business advisor, I find chaos when I go into people's businesses. They're operating either on a G Suite or some other platform, and they're just struggling to keep on top of their emails. So, Tony, what is actually more preferable, a G Suite platform? Or, in my case, I'm actually recommending that they go to Microsoft 365. What would you suggest?
Well, it really depends on the scenario, right? In the organization, in old schools, lots of people, they love Microsoft because they have been trained up. They use Microsoft Words, Excel, PowerPoints, so they get used to it. So if an organization, you have all the staff love Microsoft, there's no way that you can move them to Google Workspace. But Google Workspace is very good with younger generations. They know how to use Gmail. They are expert of it, and plus they use lots of devices with Android system, and Google is seamlessly integrated with all those systems. So if you have a generation of younger people in the organization, Google Workspace is a very good fit.
Fantastic. And can you migrate from Google G Suite to Microsoft 365 with ease?
You can migrate, but depends on the size of the organization and the data that you have. That part of it can be a little bit complicated, but we do have facilities and ways to move them between. So yes, we can actually help you to sort it out. So if you do have the need of that.
And it's quite interesting, Tony. We quite often, as people, we go and buy our computers, and we actually just get going. We don't even ask people like you for help, and then we need you at the bottom of the cliff when something goes wrong. So quite often, I'm talking to business owners and also people similar to yourself, as in like maybe in HR or legal, specialist providers, about the opportunity of prevention over the cure. You know, so if we could only prevent actually that mishap happening of a virus hitting our computer. So, what would you suggest to people to do as regular maintenance to ensure the safety of the intellectual property that they have and also the hard work that they've got on their computer? How do we protect it?
Wow. The most important thing is to have a plan. You need to know what you have, and you need to know how, like, what is the solutions out there. Like, for example, we have managed service nowadays. We have managed antivirus service. We have managed desktop service. So we can actually help you to look at like the health status of your hardware. We can also help you to look at the health status of your security. We can also help you to look at the health status of your data. So all these things can actually be managed. So if you engage with a provider like us, then we can actually plan things for you, and we can send you reports either monthly or quarterly and tell you what you are at this stage. So in the old days, IT is kind of break and fix, break and fix. If you have a problem, I come and fix it for you. But nowadays, we actually evolve into an era of like prevention, just like what you said. Prevention is the key. Like, for example, you probably hear about the issues with the Waikato hospital, like they get ransom attacks. So there are actually ways that we can actually prevent them. So it will be too late once those attack happens, and then you try to kill it, it will take you weeks or months to fix it.
Fantastic, Tony, and especially with security being, a high priority. How do I centralise all my information, still give my staff access, but protect myself from that?
That is where you come with either Microsoft 365 or a Google Workspace, which is usually the new name is called Google Workspace. What happened is that they have all your information centralized and stored, and they have mechanism to actually manage all your documents. So they can actually see who have accessed it and what time and what kind of actions they have done to your information, whether they just modified it, edited it, or they actually download it. So when you see somebody keep downloading information from your storage, and then you say, what is he doing? Because when you have all your information centralized and stored on the cloud, we can easily manage and monitor them. But if you have it on the local computer, now you have a very high risk.
Absolutely. So, what preventions would you put in place for that high risk? I mean, as a business advisor, I recommend people have an IT policy that they actually use in the onboarding process of recruiting somebody. But what other sort of strategic ideas do you have for people to be able to mitigate their risk when it comes to IT theft?
Okay, so the very important thing, you need to have the infrastructure, like what I have mentioned. If you are not using centralized storage for your document, make sure you jump into it. It's not difficult to do. So migrate it into a centralized system like Microsoft or Google. And then from there on, we can implement and train the users what to do, what not to do. The highest risk factor is user, because once we get a system in there, we can easily manage it. But the user is the most risk factor. So like what I just mentioned, you can train the user to share directly from your storage instead of download it and attach it to email. In that way, you can't actually control who have access to your information. So when we have this kind of a solution available, and then we can establish the policy or the procedure and train our users. Like sometimes we train our users to change your password every 3 months. but 90% of the users hated it.
Yeah, look, I know, especially when I've got like I use Google and also 365, and I do know that with Google, with this two-step verifications and all the other bits that go with it, it's quite a involved situation if you forget your password. And so it does seem to have a lot of safety features. I guess for me, the reason I prefer Microsoft 365 is it's what I know. As you said, we grew up with, Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint, and all those, sort of processes that we use. That it's something we're used to. One thing, though, that is really, really important is when you have an overwhelming mailbox, what do you do there? And so there's a feature in 365 that I'm sure you show your clients or actually assist your clients with, and it's archiving. How often are you archiving?
Well, that is also depends on user. I have a customer. She's a lawyer, and she wants her information available to her all the time. In that situation, it's difficult to archive. So even at the end, I persuade her to say, you have to archive at least like only keep 3 months of information. Any more than that, you will make your mailbox so so big and difficult to manage. So not only that, you also need to like organize your mailbox. In Outlook, you put it in different folders. In Google, you apply different labels to it, and that is actually help you easy to find them.
Absolutely, and that's the important thing is that we spend most of our life trying to find what we already filed, right? So I'm sure you get a lot of clients, especially coming to you going, "Hey, Tony, I just can't find something." How do you find something that's lost in a needle of a haystack?
Well, that is another thing. Sometimes I like Google. Google have an excellent search engine. So the information in your mailbox, we can find it easily by just using Google search. Well, as long as you know how to search for it. So you can add 1 or 2 or 3 keywords, and then you can find very easily what you look for. Microsoft, they improve a lot now, so you can actually search across all your mailboxes and folders by using their new search function in Outlook. So search is the best way to find things you need, as long as you know like what you're looking for.
Absolutely. So they're using keywords really. So Tony, cybersecurity attacks. I mean, we all saw how Facebook went down there for about, let's just say, a good half a day overnight and a bit of the day a few months back. And whilst they didn't say it was a cyber attack, we have seen cyber attacks happen with the banks this year. So no one is immune to a cyber attack, it would seem, because even with a big corporate, you would think that they would have really good structure in place to prevent it. How do the small businesses cope with cyber attacks? What preventions would you be recommending to them to put into place?
Well, with small business, the key is backup, backup, and backup. So you do need to have your information. You know that you have more than one copy of your information have been backup. So we normally, when you have online storage, right? So people will say, oh, that is sufficient because everything is online. But we still suggest that no, that is not sufficient. You need to have at least another or 2 different ways of backup your information. So that is why we suggest it backup, backup, and backup.
Oh, I love it, Tony. Back up, back up, back up. I mean, it sounds so simple. I guess for me, it becomes a time thing. When do I do a backup? So you can actually do a backup you can automate it, can't you? You can automate the backup to happen. So is that backing up to the cloud or where's it backing up to?
That is a very good question. I actually strongly suggest the cloud backup. The cloud backup is automated because you don't even need to look at it. And then we can always generate a report and tell you what has been done. And for some of the critical information, we text it like every month, make sure we really have what we think we have backup. Often I come across situation in the emergency, you try to restore data and then you realize whatever you were supposed to back up is not been back up. So that is also something that quite important. So it's to make sure you get things back up.
Absolutely, it's so important. I mean, if you really can't afford to lose it, it makes sense just to do the backup, make it happen. So, Tony, this is a bit of a layperson question, but if I've got files that are automatically synchronized to a cloud backup for 365, will that automatically be backing up for me as a regular thing, or is it something I have to set up?
You do need to do a setup on it. Like normally, like with 365, they do have the backups available. But if you have information deleted like intentionally or by mistakes, and those kind of things can be very difficult to retrieve. Okay, so if you have a backup that can give you the ability to track down at the time, so you can go back a week or maybe a month, and then you can easily retrieve what you missed.
Perfect, Tony, perfect. And Tony, let's talk about purchasing of equipment. I'm actually a believer of purchasing second-hand ex-lease equipment, and I recommend my clients do that over buying new. I say to them, whenever you buy new, yes, it comes with a warranty, but it also comes with a very fast depreciation, as in you're going to lose a big amount of chunk of change when you've actually bought it just simply from buying it. Yes, you can depreciate it, but ex-lease machines, they get refurbished. You recommend them too, don't you?
Yes, I recommend it refurbished. There's a few factors that you consider in here. In the old days, you have to set up your computer properly so you can use it. But nowadays, because everything is on the cloud, you just need to log in and everything is available. In the old day, you have to install all those programs for you to use, right? Nowadays, it's probably, if you're using Microsoft, it just Office 365. You can download it from online and install it with no minutes. There's not much configuration to do. So it's very easy for you to jump from computer to computer. So
and affordable, right? Because I mean, for the ex-lease equipment, you're not having to pay that big ticket price.
yep, it's normally you can say about half of the price.
Fantastic, fantastic. And you can do that at PC on site?
Yes, we do provide refurbished equipment.
Great, fantastic. And Tony, just give us a little bit of a narrative about PC on site. What is the company actually offering to small businesses out there? What is it, a full IT offering? Is it IT offering in retail, as in you are selling equipment? What are you actually doing in a complete rounded strategy for businesses?
Yes. So like from the beginning is you're talking about equipments. We can help people to procure. We have connections with the suppliers like brand new products and also refurbished products, depends on what you want and what is your budget. So we find the best solution to you. So after that, we help to set up your networks and all those things. And it's a working environment. Like we're talking about Microsoft and Google and setting up your email, business email communications, your file storage and all those. We also mentioned we have managed desktop servers, which manage all your hardwares and manage antivirus. That is your antivirus solution, right? And we have those online backups to secure all your data. So it's a whole solution that we can actually provide for business. And not only that, we can actually help you to look at your online presence, digital presence. Like for example, I help a customer set up Google My Business. Even though it's very simple, you'll be amazed how many of our clients actually don't know how to set it up properly.
What about Google Ads? Do you do that? Do you set up Google Ads as well?
We don't do those are paid advertising.
Advertising.
It's
Right,
more for the
right.
organic side of it. Yeah.
Oh, great, great. It's good to know. And Tony, in terms of what are the seemingly issues that people are having out there at the moment, like with COVID, we've had to take a lot of people from working in a workplace to home. So, trying to get people set up to be and operational at home, that must have been keeping you, you must be really busy in that regard, right?
Kind of, because if you haven't prepared for it, like for example, if you haven't get a centralized data storage, it will be too late. So it's very important for you to prepare for it. Once you prepare for it, and then it's easy for us to add on it. If you haven't prepared for it, and we have to restructure the whole thing, and then it will be getting quite difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially when under level 4 you can't be moving around. But I guess this time it was a lot more flexible and being able to get out essential equipment. So you were still able to get computers for work, and chairs and things like that. So Tony, in terms of something that I struggle with, and I'm not sure if it's an age thing, but I'm constantly forgetting my password. And people are always talking about using a system called last password. What is your recommendation for something like that? Is that easily able to be hacked into?
Um, no, it have a very good standard. Like most of those password management softwares help you. The only thing is that you need to be trained to use it properly. Yeah, that
And
is
that's and
another.
that's a and that's the key really for everything you're talking about today is train to use it properly and you get the best outcome, right?
Exactly.
So what is a password management system that you would recommend to the users that PC on site could train the users on?
Like LastPass that you have mentioned, we actually have a few others the populars in the market. We can actually help to train you how to use it. Um, I often, if you don't know how to use it, it can be a frustration.
Yes, absolutely. And especially for someone like me who's struggling to remember my password. Tony, I'm actually going to slip out of talking out of IT and talk about networking because that's where we met, right? And,
Yes.
and for someone like you, it was a whole new world for you. What has networking provided to your business?
Well, I think that's a lot. Uh, One thing I have the business support, and I I know like what other people's wants and things like that. It actually helped me to shape my business. So that kind of realization to know like what the customers needed is actually very important for me to, especially myself as a small business, right? To go in the right direction. Uh, a business networking is the excellent place to find it out.
And you talk about shape your business. Can you just, for people that are watching this, could you just explain to them what that means for you and your business?
Well, I think one of the first things when I come into business networking to learn um, how to explain myself, like what business I'm doing, right? Like the question you ask, what can you offer to a small business? It takes me about 6 months to define myself. What are the services that I offer to my client, right? So, and that part of it, I think, is add value to my business greatly.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, I'm absolutely so proud of you, Tony. Like when you first started with networking, yeah, it was really like a new platform. You had to sort of figure out not just defining yourself, but get your elevator pitch right. You were there still trying to hustle for business because, everybody wants to get business from networking. But you've got quite a lot of business out of networking, right?
Yes, I got lots of connections and yeah, not direct business, but from referrals and getting to know people is actually helped greatly in building up my business.
Fantastic. And Tony, you're somebody I know I can ring up at any point and or send somebody to, and you'll be an extension of my value. You're hardworking, and that's all that matters to me is someone trustworthy and hardworking to get the job done. We're going to wrap this up, Tony. So we've got about 5 minutes to go, and I really want you to share with the viewers what are your top pearls of wisdom. What do they need to know, and why do they need to work with PC on site?
Well, I think you actually mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting is prevention is better than cure. So if you really want to have a peace of mind in your business, you really know what you are up to. So PC on site will help you to find that, and you have a peace of mind that you know all the things that is running behind supporting your business is helping you to build it instead of having lots of issues. So we want to help you to get that peace of mind for your business.
I love that peace of mind. We all want peace of mind. And I see so many people being so busy trying to do the job that they're not actually trained to do. So I always say to people, delegate to elevate, because when you delegate to elevate, then you can concentrate on the areas that you do well. Tony, if we just talk about the prevention just as before we leave, a lot of people go, well, I've got my computers, I've got my cyber. What kind of prevention could they be doing? I know you talk about monthly reporting and stuff, but what other things?
Security, this is a definite important thing. Organizing your data, like centralizing information that you need. So those are the key, and make sure that you manage and monitor everything.
That's good, Tony. I just had a real coughing fit. That was like, oh my gosh. Tony, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show here today. And for those of you who want to just have a check-in with Tony, you might already have somebody helping you in IT. Tony would be glad to help you. Just pick up the phone, give him a call. He'd love to help you, just to shoot through a problem that you may have, or maybe something that your own IT person hasn't suggested to you or resolved. So some really good takeaways from here today is prevention over the cure, back up, and you'll get peace of mind. Is that right, Tony?
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine.
Fantastic. And for all IT needs, contact Tony at PC On Site. And here at the Engine, we'd love to help you on any strategy that you've got or need for your business, so we can refer you out to people like Tony. Thanks again, Tony. Real pleasure having you. You have a great week now.
You too. Thank you, Catherine.